Ignite, sparked by BBB, where conversations are taking place to change the future.
Welcome back to BBB Sharing, everyone. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. We are here in the Ignite podcast studio once again. Happy Monday, everyone. You all don't know that it's Monday, but I do, and I'm feeling it. So, guys, welcome in. I have Connor and Ian from
Contractor Independence Marketing.
Perfect. And what do you guys do? I know it may seem like a big duh to everybody else, but just in case.
Yeah, so we help roofers with their local brand presence. So specifically on Google Maps, we help them show up whenever homeowners are searching for services.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a difficult thing for people to kind of be out there, especially with how wide the internet is.
Yeah, right.
Tell me about that. How do you guys navigate that for people?
Yeah, I think whenever you think about like lead generation, right? Marketing, there's so many different options. And so a lot of times business owners get overwhelmed with all those options. Really, in the end, what they want is they want to just know that what they invest, they're going to be able to make back, you know? And so there's a lot of good options. There's like you can pay for advertising, you can invest locally, you can do radio, you can do TV. But what we do is search engine optimization, SEO, like a lot of people are familiar with that term, but we do a specific subset. So we specifically focus on Google Maps, right? The top 3 that show up with the reviews. And, that's important for lots of different businesses, especially for roofers and some other home services contractors, because a lot of the times the homeowner is in a position of distress if their roof is leaking, right? And so the first thing they do is, they're not thinking about the ad that they saw 3 weeks ago, on TV. They're pulling out their phone and they're searching like roofer near me, right?
It's more like flight or fight, navigate the emergency, kind of figure that out.
It's a solve it now problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so we've worked with a bunch of different types of home services contractors, remodelers, HVAC. But we've really settled into roofers as our main niche that we've gotten the best results for. And I'm not saying it's the only path. Like there's many different marketing methods that work. But we've started to get some really good, repeatable results with these guys. Yeah.
Here's what I love what you guys do in particular. You're a very specific niche. And what we've noticed, because I've interviewed a lot of marketers, right? But what I've noticed is that some of them are trying to chew more than they can swallow with not really understanding the industry that they've accepted that job from, right? Yeah, so if you have never known the restaurant and you're like, oh, I'm going to do social media for the restaurant, please don't do that, because I come from the restaurant industry and they want you out of the way. They do not want you in their face. And so that's going to be hard for you to do. But for you guys being able to pinpoint that, you know what you're doing. You know what you're looking for those businesses.
Well, you're describing the first 1 to 2 years of us in business. Yeah. I mean, we started 6.5 years ago. We were in our mid-20s. And we just wanted to help anyone who would accept us. You know what I mean? We work with physical therapists and restaurants, chiropractors. Yeah. So it took, the thing about entrepreneurship and business is that you often make all the worst mistakes, and then you come back around and realize and learn your lessons and fix them. But that is one of the biggest ones. So for anyone who's younger in their career or their entrepreneurship journey, biggest advice I can give you is what Evie just said. It's like, focus more on the people you're serving. And if you focus more on the people you're serving, you will realize that there are certain ones that you can serve better than others.
Yeah.
And so everyone thinks they need to serve everyone to get big. But what I found is that the biggest, like the people who are most successful and do the most revenue and all that exciting stuff, they actually went smaller in order to get big.
It gives you the opportunity to really get to know the avatar that you're trying to serve, really know your clients, your customers, and figure out not just how to speak to them, like to get them, engaged with your ads, but to actually understand their problems more deeply so that you can provide more value, right? So that you can get deep and sure, maybe your product or service solves a specific problem in that moment, but being able to get to that next level of depth to anticipate their future needs, because then you might be able to find a way to provide that value to them later down the road, right? And build that really strong recurring partnership, recurring relationship with them. So it's not just a transaction, it's much more of a relationship.
Right. And that's what they're looking for too. because they want to know the people that are helping them grow their business.
Right.
The businesses that you guys help, do they tend to range from bigger or smaller or kind of
Yeah.
all over the place?
Well, historically, it's been all over the place, but over time, what we've realized is typically if a business needs to be doing over $1 million in revenue, which means that they, like loosely speaking, they have a team. It's not just a person out of a truck. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You have to start somewhere. But if you're going to invest in, what we call in the industry organic marketing, the thing about organic is it's delayed gratification.
Right.
And when you are a small business, like small under $1 million or only a couple team members, you are in scrappy mode. And I love that. But the thing is, you can't really afford to invest in something that pays off in 6 months.
Right.
You have to, you have to fight day in and day out to make sure that you can make payroll, for the couple of employees you have. So yeah, I always, it used to be that we try to do everything for everyone. We narrowed down to roofers, but then even past narrowing down to roofers is like, I will personally recommend if a roofer is early on in their business, do not work with us yet. And sometimes they argue, sometimes they argue with me and they're like, yeah, everyone wants what they can't have, right? But I'll be like, look, I know you don't like some of these paid lead services like Angie and Thumbtack. There are pros and cons, but the pro is that you can put money in and get money out pretty quickly.
That's actually wonderful. What are some suggestions that you give to the businesses that you do work with? Because you're helping promote them, right?
Yeah.
In some way.
Mhm.
What's some advice that you give to them where it's like, hey, if we help you do this, this is what you need to follow up with?
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to happen after they've made, a homeowner has made contact with them, right? They've gotten the lead. Okay, now what? What do you need to do to work that lead, to understand what they need as your customer and actually get them to convert? Right. The number one thing is pick up the phone.
Right.
A lot of the times
Sounds so basic, right?
But
Yeah.
it's an important one.
Yeah, with roofers, contractors, like many of these guys and girls start their businesses, out on the job site, actually being the tradesperson, manually working the tools up on the roof, so on and so forth. And that's awesome because it lets them build such a good business where they know what type of quality they need to provide and what they need to hold their team to. But the problem is when you're doing that day in and day out as the business owner, you can't claw yourself away from working in the business rather than working on the business. And so when you can't pick up the phone because you're actually on the roof doing an inspection or whatever it may be, you're missing out on leads.
Yeah, I'll say too, is like such a crazy example of this is, I worked with a roofer, and we were getting what I thought were really good results. Like I'm seeing, so we measure on heat maps geographically to see their territory grow, their territory that they show up in the top three. And it was looking good. The graphs are all going up. Well, this roofer basically contacted their account rep and was like, hey, this isn't working for me. I'm not getting any results. And when we dug into it, because we built software that helps us track the calls, it was like a 15% pickup rate, 15%. And so when we dug into it further, we're like, what's going on here? I guess early on in the campaign, there were some telemarketers that got through. And so the roofer decided, well, I'm just going to let everyone go to voicemail and I'll follow up with them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that might work. It might work if they've already committed to you to some extent, like they're a referral or something, they know you, right? If they're just finding you on Google and you don't pick up the phone, they're on to the next one.
Right.
They're not leaving voicemails.
Yeah.
And so,
because like you said earlier, it's a very emergent need that the homeowner has in the moment. They need the roof patched now. So if you don't pick up the phone, they're going to call the next guy in line.
Exactly.
The other thing that I've begun stressing just more and more and more is reviews are just so important. And BBB, not to I mean, I'm in the BBB office, so I have to say this, right? But like you guys are especially important because the reviews, people trust them more.
Right.
And they trust them more because, and correct me if I'm saying something wrong, but I believe you actually have a person review each one.
We vet every single thing.
Yeah.
Right.
We vet both the complaints and the reviews because we want to make sure that that customer actually had an interaction with that business.
Right.
And so it's not like with Google where you post something up and somebody was just having a bad day, right? And you leave.
Yeah. And the thing is, the Google and the Yelp, like that's still good and important, but the BBB, I do think people trust more because they know that it's a legitimate review. You can't fake bad ones, you can't fake good ones,
Right.
you know? So that's, you have to have a good brand presence because for your search engine results, but more importantly for your conversion. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket.
Yeah.
If you're getting in front of all these people, the first thing they want to do is type in your name to see, okay, are they legit or not?
Yeah.
And they're unaccredited on BBB, or they have bad reviews or unresponded reviews. Like you need to
That's
be
the
on
thing,
top of that.
responding to the reviews and the
Yeah.
complaints is really important too, because it shows that you care.
Right,
Just like answering the phone.
right.
My dad's owned businesses for 35 years. He's never not picked up the phone.
Yeah.
Every single person that does business with my dad has his personal cell phone number.
Mhm.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, if he,
Yeah.
and he'll tell me, like, I'll never forget in high school, he'll leave his phone up in the overpass between the kitchen and the living room. He'll say, Evie, if my phone rings, make sure you answer it. I'm like, "Oh, your secretary."
That's funny.
But that's how.
Just
it always
dedicate the
was. But
dedication
that's
of
that
it, yeah.
dedication
Yeah.
of not wanting to miss that phone call.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So how can people get in contact with you guys?
Probably the easiest way is to go to contractorindependence.com. We've got some testimonials up there. We've also got some results data that you guys can read through. If you're interested in working with us, we primarily work with roofers doing usually between 1 and 20 million a year. And I believe that we can help you guys. So if you're interested, hit us up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ian, Connor, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Abby.
And if you're watching on YouTube, BBB Central VA, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and do not forget to hit that notification bell. It really helps us out. And please make sure to follow us on BBB Sharing. Thank you.
All right.
Ignite, sparked by BBB, where conversations are taking place to change the future.